Okay, what I'm going to talk about now is a diesel fired central heating system. On this particular boat it's a brand called Webasto, but there are other brands around such as Eberspacher, Mikuni and Hurricane. They're pretty similar in their operation and all pretty straightforward to actually work. This one has a timer on it that hasn't actually been set, but it's not something that's going to stop us actually going through this demonstration. To actually start a Webasto up is fairly straightforward, and it's the same for the other systems. There is a button here that's got a little flame pattern on it, and if you press that button on this particular unit, it will fire into life. The firing process is very important on all units because it's the actual microprocessor in the system and actually on the unit itself actually making sure that it is safe to actually operate. So it will check things like the level of the batteries, whether or not it's got the right amount of fuel, whether it can breathe properly, whether it's vented properly, and that takes a few moments to actually go through the firing up process. So it's very important when you switch these units on to let them go through that fire up process and make sure they're okay, and we'll be able to hear this actual unit going through that process once I've pressed this little red button. So to start the unit, we just press this button here, and you can see a little flame symbol has appeared here, and if the camera will pick it up, there's two little red LEDs that are actually showing here. If we move outside, over the noise of the train, you can probably hear that the little unit, the unit here, is actually starting to go through its fire up and priming process. What it will actually do is it will check that it's safe for it to start operating. So what you have basically is a boiler, very much like you have at home, that takes a feed from the diesel tank and into the actual boiler unit itself. It looks when it first starts up to see that it's got enough fuel, that there is water in the central heating system, its pumps are operating properly, it can breathe properly through its exhaust. Once it's satisfied with all those criteria, it will actually fire up and start to operate and heat, on this particular boat, hot water and central heating. I'm going to shut up for a moment while it just goes through its firing up process, because in a moment you'll start to hear it draw and perform and pump everything through and start to actually do its job of heating up the appliances on the boat. Okay, you can hear the note now has actually started to change on the central heating system, and it's actually starting to draw now and starting to heat up the water that's in the central heating system and the water that's actually needing to flow through the clarifier. It means that this particular unit now is happy with the environment it's in and will continue to perform. It knows that it can breathe properly, it knows it's got the right amount of fuel, it knows that there is water in all the tanks, it knows that it's not going to overheat itself by trying to heat a system that isn't primed properly, and off it will go, and it will run quite happily like that and heat a full tank of hot water and central heating in about 15-20 minutes, depending on the size of the boat and the length of pipes and the runs, etc. They are very, very clever units, very, very efficient to run, and as long as you let them go through that sensible firing up process where it can do basically a check to say that I'm okay, I'm safe to operate, you won't have any problems with them. They are very reliable, very robust. A very common mistake that people make, I'm just going to step across over here, is they will moor their boat up with the exhaust, which is over the side here, with their exhaust right up to a piling here. That unit needs to breathe. That is already very, very hot. if the fumes from this are being blocked and can't blow away, then that little microprocessor in there will say that I can't breathe properly, I'm going to shut down. As a result of that, people start to get a little bit frustrated and will start to fire the units up again, and the same process will happen again and the unit will shut down. For safety reasons, if you do that 3 times, the whole unit will lock out and you will not be able to fire your central heating up. So you have to be a little bit sensible about where you moor them up. For example, if the wind is blowing straight down here, it can't breathe properly. For your own safety, the units will not fire up. So it's important that you think about that. That is really, really hot, and if I was to block that up, the unit would close down for safety reasons. And that's part of their design, to protect everybody, people who own the boat, the families, etc., when they're out enjoying their cruising. To switch the unit off is now a time that we could actually do that. Because the unit has been through its firing up process, is now operational, now drawing everything, what we could actually do is shut that down, and it has to go through the reverse process of actually saying, okay, I've operated fine, I'm getting nice and hot, I've got the right amount of fuel, I'm okay to actually shut down. So what I'm actually going to do is shut the unit down, which is just a reverse of pressing the button I pressed before. So to turn one of these units off is just a case of pressing this. And you can hear the note of the Webasto unit change. This would be the same on Eberspacher or any of the other actual units, in that it would then slowly start to shut down and say, okay, that's fine, I've had the right amount of fuel, I've operated successfully, I've been able to breathe, I need to purge the fuel out, I need to make sure that I'm safe to close down, and the system will park itself ready to fire up safely and sensibly next time. The big mistake that people make is when the boat is in this condition is to now isolate the power, bang, bang, by turning these isolators. What that does is tell the Webasto microprocessor that there's been a power out, and it will believe that that is a fault. It thinks for whatever reason its power to actually operate has been severed, cut, terminated, whatever, and that will be remembered in its memory. It will remember that there's been a problem. Continue to do that and the systems can lock out again. So just a bit of good housekeeping is, once you've switched it off, the lights have gone out, you should listen to the unit itself and just let it power down so that it is happy for next time that you actually switch it on. And it takes 2 or 3 minutes, but it's worth it because the system is primed and ready to go for your next use. That's all I've got to say about Webasto units.